Hello and welcome to the Projector project. My name is Diederik and I'm excited to dive into today's topic. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a 5'1" Splenic projector with the 4426, channel 4426 that is, quad right, and many interesting nuances as every design has. And in this video and in this channel in general, it's just about reflecting on what it means to be a projector and to share aspects of at least my design, because I have direct experience with that, but also share stories from my clients because I work one-on-one with clients as well as with partners. I've been working with the human design system for over 7 years now, including the gene keys, and professionally for 3. I am not an educator. I just want to make sure that I share that. So these are just my contemplations and my sharings with my personal experience. And in this episode, I want to talk about using being a projector as an excuse to do or not do something. And I've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, this is that whole idea of like, kind of like being guided by and inspired by the human design system versus really like narrowing yourself to fit into a box. It's a real, that's why experimentation is so important with human design. So I've been thinking about this for a while, ever since I've gotten to know the system. I'm wondering and curious how all of you experience that, particularly those that have been doing this for a while, that have been experimenting with the system for a while. And, I've been really, really sitting with this, especially with me going deeper into my experimentation. And actually was prompted by a friend, and she goes, D, I think she even asked me twice over the last 2 months. She's like, do you ever feel like you use being a projector as an excuse not to do certain things? What I can think of in particular is, for example, in business, like how I'm meant to put myself out there, right? Now, I understand from my education how I'm meant to market myself, right? And so there is that. But at the same time, particularly to work with strangers of consequence, a lot of that has to do with being a 5'1", so I'm meant to work with strangers, have an impact, and then I'm out. There's this whole like familiarity breeds contempt that some of you might have read about being a 5'1", for example, right? But to come back to this, for sure I've noticed that trying to keep up with generators just does not work for me. There really is that consistency that lacks. And it's interesting because I'm actually staying in a house here in a location I will divulge in the future. I'm currently traveling. I'm somewhere very different from where I was previously. Previously I was in Spain, now I'm half a world away, so I'm excited to share that with you guys in future videos when I take you outside. But I'm actually staying in a house of a projector who works in a setting with, among other things, manifesting generators, particularly a manifesting generator brother and dad. And I was talking to Dad, and he's a manifesting generator. And for him, as a dentist, it was all about production. Like, how can I see more clients? How can I do more, which makes sense. That's the manifesting generator. But the person whose house I'm staying at, as a projector, seeing clients one-on-one in her occupation, let's just say therapy in this case, like physical therapy, acupuncture specifically, she said, after 4 or 5 clients, I'm just done. From a manifesting generator, manager or colleague might say, hey, why don't you add 3 more clients and make it 8? It's just too much. And I've noticed it for myself too. As much as I want to keep up with the manifesting generators, it's just like some mornings you just wake up and it's just like, but do I use being a projector as an excuse? Or do I try to fit myself too much into a box? The answer is yes and no. And I say that because yes, maybe I do, but also no, because I feel like I haven't actually gone all in on the experimentation. Particularly being a splenic authority has been a very interesting journey. I don't know if any of you are splenic, but just like getting to know your splenic system, the splenic messaging, your intuition in the now, your instincts in the now. Really instincts, right? It's all sensory body. And um, I made a video on being a splenic projector, and I'll be sharing that soon. But one of the things that I came across was this instructor who is not a splenic projector saying, if I were a splenic projector, I would really be looking at what my lymphatic system is telling me. So like your lymph nodes and all that. And that's been very active for me lately. So I've been really sitting with that. But yeah, as far as using it as an excuse, yeah, I do think I have, but as I'm saying it makes me happy because, again, it's kind of like this, I've been half in, half out. And now, especially knowing that, like, I'm really meant to only work with people that truly recognize me. Recognition is the invitation as a projector to be your fullest self. And I had spent up to now most of my life trying to appeal to people that either didn't see me or like the recognition is like 95% or even 99%, but it's not 100. And I think that's why it's so important to, well, for me at least, to be putting myself out there, because I have received messages and even have been working with people that have found me through YouTube that just have an instant recognition. And that's a real win-win, because it's when you come together as two people, like if I'm fully seen, then so are you, and so is my client, so is my friend, right? And so that benefits both of us. Whether you're a projector or not, being seen by a projector is amazing. Being seen by a projector as a projector, that's a whole nother level. And most of the people that have reached out are projectors, because this is the Projector Project. So I do recognize that for most of my life, I've used the excuse of, not excuse per se, but like, I'm not being seen, and so I hesitate putting myself out there. Whereas you can only be seen if you put yourself out there. But that's where, again, some of the nuances can come in. You know, I've noticed that when I work with people that I know, it just doesn't work as well. It's definitely powerful if I'm 100% recognized. But when I work with someone that I don't know, again, someone I find through YouTube, again, there's that 100% recognition. Like receiving messages like, in my bones, I knew I had to reach out to you. Like, I don't know why, but like my splenic authority told me to write you a message. And here I am writing you a message. Like, I received one recently, and it was just like, I don't even know what's to come of it, but I just felt called to write you, which is fantastic. Like, that's what it's all about. And listening to our inner authority, that's what we got. So yeah, as I sat down, you know, there's just, as you can tell, there's a lot of aspects to this. I've also had someone tell me recently, D, you're thinking a lot. And that's the not self, right? The mind is never the authority. And especially being splenic, it's so like, it's in your body. It's your body guiding you. Like, oh, like it's almost like, body, take me where you need to go. It's so in the moment that really, like, yeah, the mind, and especially as a quad right, like my mind is not meant to focus, and it exhausts me. You know, to bring in another thing is, I've been reading Alfred Adler. He's one of the main psychologists of the last century. Yeah, You've got Jung and you've got Freud and you've got Adler, who's a little bit less well known. And I'm reading this really interesting book called The Courage to Be Disliked. And I don't know if any of you have read it out there, but the main thing there is like the statement, there is no trauma. In other words, anything that happened to you in the past, you can use as an excuse to meet a certain objective. For example, I'm afraid to go out there because of this, this, and this. Well, then you're not going to go out there because that, and that. Like, oh, in the past, this happened to me, and so I don't want to go out there. And it's like, I'll give you a practical example. The first thing that popped up for me, it's like, I want to be very pure in how I approach my clients, and especially exchanging money for services as a transformational coach. I wanted that to be pure, so I'm like, okay, I want a side gig and some savings that I can rely on, a side job, so that I can do this in a pure way. But because part of me was afraid to put myself out there and actually do these things, that whole side job and saving, there were difficulties in that, and I knew I was doing that to myself because I could feel it in my own consciousness that I was doing something there. And so because that was just like not happening, it was my excuse not to have to put myself out there. And that's changed. It was already changing anyway, but now for sure I'm just like, this is what I got to do. And especially as a guilt motivated, right? Guilt motivation in human design, being guilt motivated, I'm here to solve a problem in the outside world. And if I'm not solving that, there is a sense of guilt that comes in, right? Not sharing, even if I don't know what my sharing will lead to. So yeah, with that, like, do I use being a projector as an excuse, or what are the projector limitations? And there really are some. Like, I was doing some heavy physical labor in the past few months, past 10 months, and my body was just telling me no. You know, my shoulders got so tense, my hands started getting numb, and I'm just like, man, like, body, work with me. But intuitively, my body was telling me, like, no, you got to take care of yourself. And it made me feel guilty. Like, my mind would be like, tomorrow I'm going to go there. You know, I'm going to go to the site. I'm going to do the things I want to do. I'm going to go to the project. I'm going to do the work, the physical work. And then I wake up and my body's just like, now, can I push through that? Sure. Will I pay for it? Yeah. It's tricky, guys. As you know, it's tricky. I do think it becomes more simple as we truly live our design. I know for me now, things are getting much more clear. And right now I'm following future or more education in the human design, in particular with an instructor that I think is one of the best out there, and she's been fantastic to help me gain even more clarity about not just everybody else's design and being a human design, or particularly a BG5 consultant or analyst, meaning I work with businesses and people in their career. It's helping me to shed more light on my own design and my own nuances. So here we go. So I just wanted to share this. It's a lot of kind of just like free flowing things coming through. And really, I'm just curious as to what your experience is experimenting with this design. Like, how much do you feel like you pigeonhole yourself because you are a projector, and how much of it is actually because, well, this is who I am, and the design is just confirming my lived experience. I'm not conforming who I am to my design. The design is showing who I am. Right? And I think that's really the question. Like, it's not just the limitations of being a projector, but the mechanisms of being a projector and living that in real life. Okay. Well, again, curious as to what you think. Please share and comment. If there's any other topics you're interested in me covering, I'd love to look into that. Recently, someone mentioned looking into the cosmic human design and human design, meaning, we use the astrology, the Western astrology, also known as tropical astrology, so I know, for our human design calculations, but we also have Vedic astrology or sidereal astrology, and those are very different. So I'm very interested in looking into that and sharing more about that in a future video. The Splenic video I'll put out soon, and yeah, just want to say I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos. I'm just really excited to be sharing with you all, and I love the community that we have. I love the sharing that's been happening, and yeah, if you have anything, let me know, and I'll catch you on the next one. Much love.